Yeah, so старий телефон.
Maybe let's step back a second. How do I say in Ukrainian? We, the people, being the complex creatures that we are, bless our souls, we sometimes project that complexity onto language learning, which is relatively simple as a process, even if the languages themselves are very, very complex and many, many mistakes will be made. But I wondered, is there a way I could demonstrate how easy and fun it is when you get your ego out of the way to just get rolling, learn a bunch of stuff, and how much could you reasonably learn and retain in maybe half an hour a day? And that's what this is all about. So a lot of this is happening because I've been thinking about how could I do this with some Ukrainian during this time. And yesterday, as I'm recording this, Steve Kaufman from Lingq.com, Lingq.com, he opened the Ukrainian section of that service, which gives you access to language learning materials. And there's a part of it where you can book time with language learning tutors. And I was delighted by how easy that part was in order to supplement your exposure to those materials, both in visual form in terms of writing and listening to the material being played back.
Будівля театру стара і дуже велика.
So the time with the speaker is not free. It's just a couple of clamshells here and there to book some time. But isn't it a beautiful thing that he's opened this up in something that I interpret as an act of solidarity? And so I picked a teacher who has a YouTube channel named Ekterina, and we're just rolling with the punches, so I didn't actually ask how to pronounce her name correctly. We just sort of said hello, and I asked her, could I record this in my Zoom room and share it on my YouTube channel and promote your YouTube channel at the same time? And she said sure. So I'm in my pajamas, and neither of us are particularly schminked up, and so this is the beauty of the internet, at least the age of the internet I come from, which is not corporate television. If you like this kind of content, make sure to get subscribed if you're not already part of the Magnetic Mary Method family. Hit that thumbs up and let me know in the comments what you would love to know more about when it comes to language learning. And using memory techniques, it's not a magic bullet, but it's the closest thing to magic that I know. And I think you'll see some of that unfold. And ultimately, I think the session speaks for itself. And, it's a lot of ego management learning a language. You have to get out of your own way. You have to allow yourself to roll with mistakes and just absorb as much as you can. And the more tactically you do that, the better. So I'm very grateful to Steve Kaufman for opening up the Ukrainian section so I could poke around. I highly encourage you to start an account. And if you're able to, find a native speaker and get speaking as soon as possible. Now, at the end of this video, I will share a couple of additional things in my thinking about how that all of this works. And, let me know if you'd like to see more of these sessions on this channel. And, just thank you very, very much for being part of this community. And let's see if we can't get language learning and memory techniques more deeply combined for the sake of showing ourselves as a global community that consciousness is one and the same, and we truly are in the now when we're communicating, especially during language learning sessions like these.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Привіт.
Привіт. So привіт is hello.
Так, привіт.
Привіт.
I don't know how to read Cyrillic script. Привіт.
Привіт. Okay, so as I was just telling you, I just started with Lingq that Steve Kaufman opened up with Ukrainian. Mm-hmm. And the first thing that I did was obviously make this big error because I thought it was Buchora for yesterday, but you were telling me it's Vuchora. And it can
Vuchora, Vuchora.
Okay,
так,
so
Vuchora.
Anyway, the name of the game is, to do this because of solidarity reasons. Also, I have my personal sort of thing that I was telling you about, but also, can we help some other people think about how to make multi-sensory associations a lot faster. And so I just had some time to work with 5 or 6 words, and, Dora was another one. And this is just as linked, reading these stories. Dora, I think, was road, and
Дорога, дорога. Doroga, yeah. Okay.
Okay, so anyway, we lay the foundations, then we fix the pronunciation. Doroha.
Так, дорога, дорога.
And the other
That's
one
why
was,
you need a teacher at some point, to correct all this,
exactly. It's what I tell all the people is this. because I memorize stuff wrong all the time, but at least because I've got some foundation, then you can build on it if you speak with a native speaker.
Yes.
So anyway, so probably another one that is totally off, but that I picked out of there was something like stara for old. Stara.
Старый, and it's an adjective. Старый, старый. Can you say it? Старый.
Starý.
Yeah, like in a snake.
Snake.
Старый, старый.
Starý.
Yeah, and it's an adjective, and the adjective is the best friend of a noun, and you need to string it to the noun. So the problem with the Slavic languages, and Ukrainian is a Slavic language, that you change the endings all the time. That's something you do constantly, and you change the ending of the noun according to the 7 cases, like 7 patterns. And because the noun is ruling the adjective, you're changing the end of the adjective constantly as well. So старый with S. Can you say it one more time for me, please? Старый, старый.
Starý, starý.
Yeah. It's for masculine, like it's something for masculine, and because of E ending, and you only can string it to masculine noun in the vocabulary form, basically. For example, do you know what is this thing? Do you know how to say it in Ukrainian?
Not yet.
Okay, that's super easy, like super easy. That's telephone, telephone.
Telephone.
Yeah, telephone.
Is there any slang that they use?
No, I don't think about the telephone. There wouldn't be anything like this, but Ukrainian language is another thing. Ukrainian language is very dialectical. There are many dialects, and it's combined to the history because the Ukrainian language was forbidden for many years under many rulers. That means that in the villages, people who were not educated in the universities, they were speaking at homes in Ukrainian in their own dialect. And mainstream language, it was either Russian or Polish or Hungarian at some time, German even at some point. And people, they literally saved so many dialects that Ukrainian language have, I don't even know how many of them. So each region has its own dialect. But
Right.
telephone is the same because it's relatively new and it's foreign origin. Yeah, so that's a relatively new noun with the foreign origin. That's why in all regions, doesn't matter which dialect you have, you will have telephone, telephone. Can you say telephone for me, just to work on pronunciation?
Yeah,
Telephone.
Telephone.
Opened air like this, telephone.
Telephone.
Okay. And
so is A gonna always be A like that? Telephone.
It's open. Yeah, like but basically like a letter in English. Like an apple. When you say an apple or like this, it will be
Okay.
like apple, like in the word apple. Apple.
Okay.
Yeah.
Telephone.
Telephone.
Telephone. Okay.
And how would you say the old telephone?
Well, I don't know the 7 cases yet, but
No, it's a nominative. It's the basic. We are working on
okay.
vocabulary first. Yeah. So let's. How would you say old phone with what we learned?
Snaky starý telephone.
Telephone on foot. Starý telephone.
Starý telephone.
Okay, super cool. And do you know what is this?
Kugelschreiber, pen. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Okay, actually it's a pen for the pen tablet, but let's imagine that it's normal pen, which is
Okay.
ручка, ручка, ручка.
Ruchka.
Okay, ручка. And for it, you need to string the feminine adjective. So you will say стара. So again, a snake, but instead of старый, you will change the ending to стара, стара.
Stara.
Ручка. Стара ручка. Стара ручка. And the cool thing about Ukrainian language and about the mentality of our people, we do really kind of perceive the phone as a man and the ruchka as a woman. Telephone is a man for us and ruchka is a female. It's not it. It's not a neutral gender. Yeah. So let's do it one more time. What is this? Shotse. Shotse means what is this? Shotse.
Okay, so that was stara telephone.
Старый, because this is a man.
Starý.
Старый.
Oh, right. So the
Starý.
woman, and then stara ruchka.
Так, старий телефон. Actually, it's not that old, but anyway, старий телефон.
Okay, so I always say it's sort of old, not that old.
Yeah, I love it anyway. Я його люблю. So, старий телефон.
Maybe let's step back a second. How do I say in Ukrainian?
Okay. Як сказати? Як сказати?
Сказати. Okay, so sla is like words.
No, слово is word, but сказати is to say. How to say? Як сказати? How to say? Сказати is to say in infinitive. Як is how. Як сказати?
Як сказати.
Perfect. Як сказати?
Як сказати.
Yes. Як сказати. Good.
Okay. So let me just build an image here because I got a yak skazate. So there's going to be like a yak, the animal, who's beating a ska band.
Okay.
With Zappa with T, I guess, German T, te. Okay. So yak skazate, not old phone or not so old phone.
Okay. So if it's a
not so old phone.
Okay. So if it's brand new, you will say новий телефон. Новий.
Okay,
Can you try it? Новий.
Новий.
Okay, and say новий телефон, new phone, новий телефон.
Новий телефон.
And how would you say new pen?
So that was ручка.
Ручка.
So if it's feminine, I got to change novi to nova. Nova ручка.
Oh, you're getting it fast. Okay. And you also can say not old phone, literally like in English, not. Yeah. Не старий. So you just add in ne, which is not. Ne. Again, this is a sound like in the somewhere in your neck. So ne. Не старий телефон. Can you say it?
На старий телефон.
Okay, not sh, but snakes. Старый. Не
Oh, sorry.
старый.
So I'm putting an sh there. Must be an old German.
No, it's it's basically
okay.
like in snake. Старый. Не старый.
Старый. Okay. So не старый телефон.
And how would you say not old pen?
Не стара ручка.
Good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's
You
we're
said
getting
good,
there.
but what's better?
Yeah. And in order to say good, I can say добре. Добре means good. Yeah. Добре means good. Добре. Так, добре means good.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't have actually anything, I don't have anything neutral here, but window or tree, we still have neutral nouns, and there is no logic, you cannot get into it, but вікно is window, вікно.
So where does вікно?
And it's neutral. It's not feminine. It's not masculine. Okay. It's neutral. Вікно. Yeah. So it's we still have it. We still have neutral gender, but it's random when we're talking to the not living things. When we're talking about things, it's hard to understand why ручка is a girl, telephone is a boy, and вікно is it. You know.
Okay.
So, yeah, but вікно is neutral. Вікно. Can you say вікно like window? Вікно.
Вікно.
Вікно. And it's getting to if you join adjectives, so it will be старе.
Старе.
Старе вікно. Старе. It's only one S, but I was just repeating. Старе вікно.
Старе вікно. Okay, so hold on, let me think here. Oh, I've lost it. Something something Zate.
Сказати, як сказати.
Як сказати.
Як сказати.
So як сказати, something with how to, як сказати, як сказати. Як сказати, something with вікно, an object that is вікно, or what would be neutral. Like a kite.
Yeah, so вікно is, so how can you define if it's masculine, feminine, or neutral? Is it the question?
Just an example of a thing that would be neutral, like t-shirt.
Yes, вікно, it's window, вікно, дерево,
window.
tree. Window is neutral, yeah. So that's what.
I see. I
So
see.
window is neutral, and derivative is neutral. So neutral is something having or in the end, in the majority of cases. Sometimes it's but sometimes it's or. If you see, so in order to say, if you look at the vocabulary, for example, you have the whole list of nouns, and you need to define which is masculine, telephone, feminine, ruchka, or neuter, vikno. You need to look at the ending. So masculine things, they end on consonant. And do you know what is consonant? Do you remember what is consonant?
A consonant. Well, I haven't even looked at the alphabet, which is why I got that. Instead of what was it? Buchora, it's vuchora, because I have
Vchora, yeah, vchora.
Vchora for yesterday, right?
Yeah.
And then that other one I learned for road was dormir or so.
Doroha.
Doroha. Doroha. Oh, where did I get dorir? Doroha. Okay, anyway, this is one of these things when you're reading stories, who knows what grammatical form it's appearing in. Okay, so I'm not sure that I understood yet. Vikno is window, and it ends with O because it's neutral.
So
then it would be
kind of because I don't know if it's like the direct logic, so how to lead the logic there, but yes, I would say yes. So you can't, it's not neutral because it has the neutral letter. It's neutral because we perceive it as neutral thing. It's about the thinking, you know, the psychology, this national psychology behind the language. But so for native speakers, it's kind of natural to think that the room is a girl. I don't know why, but we're sitting in the room and we're sitting inside of something feminine. And it's very natural to say that house is a boy and we're sitting inside of the boy. So for our brain, it's pretty straightforward, and it's not because it's ending on some letter, it's because we just see the world in these terms, you know, it's just different perception of reality.
So old window is going to be staro vikno.
Stare vikno. So yeah, neutral can be either or o, and it's
but it's not going to change the adjective ending. Stare.
So старые, and старые go to stare vikno. Window modified adjective to stare.
Okay, stare vikno.
Stare vikno, yes, stare vikno.
So yakskazate, I am an old man. I'm not, but
okay, that's a good catch. And you'll be surprised because person or like person in Ukrainian is actually feminine. So unlike in many languages, we have the word людина. And despite, you can say я старий чоловік, like I'm an old man, like underlines that you're a man, like versus жінка versus woman. So if you want to say that you're a man, you will say я старий чоловік. Yeah. So can you repeat after me?
Я
старий чоловік. Yeah, so it's I'm an old man. But if you want to say that I'm an old person, you will change everything to female form, and you will say я стара людина. Despite you're talking about yourself, and we know that you're like man, you will put it into female form. Can you try it?
Yes, старі людина.
Стара людина, yes, стара людина. So even adjective gets into this, modifies to noun, because людина and дитина, person and baby, in Ukrainian they are feminine, unlike in so many languages. So it's like
okay, so how is that? You said something like cholo.
Человек. It's man, человек.
But then when you make it a person, it's
людина.
Yeah. Okay.
Людина. Yeah.
Okay, so it's intense. Great. Okay, so what would you recommend most to do between now and next time?
Okay, that really depends which kind of input you want and what is your goal. So let's define the first. Usually the first thing I'm asking, what do you want to achieve with your learning? So can you brief me in?
Well, you know, this is kind of a responsive thing, but generally what I would do is work with a vocabulary builder and then try to get phrases for all the vocabulary, and then just try to get to talking. But, the first thing that I think is most important is to be able to learn something like jak skazate, jak skazate something, and then just point at things. So like jak skazate book, and then start to build that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does actually. And you're doing it for fun, yes? So it's like you have time and you can take your time, isn't it? It's not your goal to speak like faster or do it for job. Like you're just playing with the languages, isn't it?
Well, I would never make anything as unserious as play, but yes, I like to play. I also just think it'd be kind of a cool thing to illustrate some of the memory techniques. So, it's managing. It's difficult to do it in real time when it's not something but Vikno, is just being placed beside you, and then some things start to fade because we haven't done it. But it was like stari or staro, ruchka, I think, for pen. Was that right?
Yeah, true.
Staro. I mean, now I don't know which was stari and staro and stara, but that stuff can be worked out in review, and then but if we don't memorize, like I try to memorize as much in real time as I can, then the goal is to get it into long-term memory. So, that's something I would like to illustrate, both those parts. How could you hold on to Vikno and Ruchka or whatever these things were, and maybe just we're not worried about the grammar so much in real time, fix the grammar later. So it's like short-term retention of a couple of things within a half an hour. Then I've got the recording so I can review it, and then make sure I practice a little bit better what the pronunciation is, and go from there. And then just point at things like Kit, I think, is cat, maybe something like this.
Kit, Kit. And we have also Kit and Kishka, because we respect cats, and usually for animals it's not the case, but for cats we say Kit and Kishka. We are like literally says this is male cat and this is female cat.
Right.
Cats are proud animals. We respect their their rights.
Then the other thing is just to use the gift that Steve Kaufman gave with Lingq, and play around with it more, because I hear things so badly that I would hear vuchora when it's vuchora, right? Then to encourage other language learners to not get blown over, because now I got like a video on Instagram where I'm like, vuchora, I'm so happy with myself that I remembered this, but it was wrong, right? But big deal. At least now I got a foundation. So just to encourage other people, just dive in, learn languages. And since you got a YouTube channel, it could be a nice thing to share your link, and because I have.
Great.
Oh, you asked me to share my channel, right?
Yeah, sure.
I can do. I'll send you the link.
Okay, great. So if that's the case, I was just thinking how to make it more effective. Maybe you can record yourself when you're practicing. Not only practice by yourself, but record and play it back to yourself firstly. So when you do this listening practice and then you try pronunciation, very often when you do it without recording, you cannot hear yourself properly, because we always hear ourselves in this kind of distorted way. We don't hear the real voice, and that's why it sounds so weird when they try to record it. But maybe if you do this listening practice, like with what we had here, and with maybe some stuff on Lingq, they have these mini stories that are helpful, for the beginners, like Lingq mini stories. So maybe when you heard once, listen it one time, then listening it second time, one sentence, stop the recording, record yourself. Another sentence, stop the recording, record yourself, and another one, so record this text and play your back comparing, play it back comparing yourself to the speaker, and then see how you match. So when you record yourself, you can hear yourself back, and you can yourself compare without me, without teaching even. You can do it with your own ears. Maybe that will be interesting exercise, and you'll see if it works for you. For some people it works perfectly. I cannot play myself back, sorry. It's not the method for me, but I know that for so many people it works so great. So maybe you can try. How about that?
That's a good tip, actually. Yeah. And one thing, if you have Audacity, you can record the actual thing and then yourself, and you can sort of compare back and forth.
A
couple of cuts and pastes. They call that chorusing sometimes in the language world. Anyway, so jak skazate, thank you, and until next time.
Дякую. Thank you is дякую. Can you say it?
Дякую. Дякую.
До зустрічі. Till meeting each other, literally. До зустрічі.
До зустрічі. Okay, I think I'm a little tired of making my images in real time, but I'll look back at the recording. До зустрічі.
Зустрічі. Зус. Again, the snake sound. Зустрічі.
Зустрічі. Oh, I like that. That's like a stretchy zoo. Зустрічі.
Зустрічі.
До зустрічі. What is the do?
Do means until. So until or up to, like до мене, to me, до тебе, to you, до школи, to the school, and до зустрічі, to the meeting, like basically till our next meeting, like see you, but it means that until I meet you, basically.
Okay, so thank you went by so fast. What was it again?
До зустрічі.
That's
до
thank you?
зустрічі. Until, дякую, sorry, дякую. It was дякую.
Дякую. So that's like дякую in Czech, isn't it?
Yeah, the Slavic languages are very, so in Polish it's dziękuję, in Czech it's what you said, and it's in many Slavic languages it's almost the same.
But in Ukrainian it's дякую.
Дякую, yeah, it's a little bit different in pronunciation. Дякую.
So, дякую до зустрічі.
Так, дякую, до зустрічі. Дякую тобі, thank you, дякую тобі.
Okay, so дякую до зустрічі, and I'll just send you a couple notes through Skype after with my YouTube channel.
Добре, дякую.
До зустрічі.
До зустрічі.
Bye. Well, thanks again to Steve Kaufman for opening up the Lingq section of Ukrainian, and thanks to Ekterina for allowing me to share this. Please go and check out her channel and get subscribed, show some support, and check out Lingq. It's really cool. I haven't spent that much time in it, but it's got some interesting features that are quite useful. For example, I don't know how much the people behind this know about this book, Actionable Gamification, but it has many of these elements in it, and I think they're well done, better than a lot of other sites that I've seen. Of course, as you know, if you've been following this project, I try to limit my exposure to the internet as much as possible. And, I recently read Johann Hari's Stolen Focus, and, it's just sort of doubled down on my limitation of exposure to the internet. But this is a cool site, and obviously it's very, very difficult to find native speakers in many languages if you can't use things like Skype or Zoom. So we always got to find that balance. Now, in terms of actionable gamification, my favorite thing to do is to use mnemonics and use memory palaces, and they're not a magic bullet. There's no two ways about it, but they are so much fun for many, many people, and I love them for that reason, and it also helps me reduce exposure to space repetition apps and so forth, because the memory palace is, let's call it, ancient spaced repetition, and the software is your brain. So one of the things that I'm going to be doing, and I haven't developed it yet, is making a couple of memory palaces for this Ukrainian adventure, and one of them is going to be in the home where I spent a lot of time as a kid because I had a crazy childhood, and we were often taken to a place where the matriarch of that family was Ukrainian, and they really brought that culture to life when I was a kid, and they always had yearly festivals that they did and so forth. So it's quite in my system, a little touch of that anyway, and in my memory. So that's the perfect memory palace. And when I think about memory palaces, I always try to think, what is connected here, if only in theme or alphabetically, right? Which, as we know, Aristotle said, the alphabet is nuclear because you get down to the letter A and you can't break it down to anything other than that, because if it's not an A, it's not an A, right? So in this case, this is just my Ukrainian memory palace based on the fact that in my memory, you can't break that apart. That is a place where I had some Ukrainian experience. Now, I also had a girlfriend for quite some time who was Ukrainian, and we shared many, many adventures. And so, I don't want to go into the bad memories around that, but I can cleanse those memories by using the places that we lived, which was 2 in total, 1 in Germany and 1 in Canada, and I can start to use those as memory palaces and, deal with some of those memories and cherish that a little bit more. But I heard a lot of Ukrainian through her, even though she was primarily a Russian speaker, and so, I've just got connections there. So those are my go-to memory palaces based on that connection. So it's not exactly alphabetical, but it's nuclear in the sense of the brain cells. Now, the other thing that's really, really important here is to just get those images as strong as possible and then have them corrected with a native speaker and given context in grammar, and then memorize sentences as much as possible. So on a station by station basis, it's possible to go back and add phrases later. So this is really, really important. And because there's only so much time in the day, and I'm also memorizing a Sanskrit piece right now called the Atmabodha, I am using, multiple memory palaces and switching back and forth. But that has its benefit if you have the time to do it, because of something that is called cognitive switching and interleaving. Now, of course, you need many, many more than 3 memory palaces in total in order to make this run at scale. So we'll see where the adventure goes, and I may make a whole 26 letter, or I guess it's 33 letters in the alphabet in Ukrainian. We shall see. But at the end of the day, one thing that would be really cool about actually spending a lot of time with the alphabet is that then I could use the major system in Ukrainian, which is wonderful. I have 3 different number memory systems, and then this would be kind of like a 4th, or it would be a variation on the major that I use, just thinking in English. And it is just a wonderful thing to imagine building as a stretch goal a 00 to 99 PAO in Ukrainian. So I don't know exactly where this adventure is going to go, but thank you for being subscribed to this channel. Thank you for your support. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. And if you're new to this whole idea of learning with memory palaces and focusing on vocabulary and phrases as you go and sticking them into space as an interior mental form of spaced repetition, then you might want to watch my video on how one of the Renaissance memory masters used these techniques next.